So, the presentation's on preparing the budget and finances for an application. So it's just really just to give you an overview of when you're looking at grants, what is required as part of the costings. So hopefully this will answer a few of those questions as well that people may have. So we'll be looking at the following. So early engagement with key departments, what costings you should consider, and what the SORCAT tool is. So early engagement with key departments. Now, with any host organisation, when you have a proposal, it's best to get in there with the R&D departments within the different trust, whichever host organisation you're planning to do your research in, and to find out who the key contacts are, to let them know that you're planning to do a research project. This could be whether it's a governance manager or head of R&D. I know different trusts have different setups, but it's really, really key that they know what type of project that you're looking to deliver, so then they can see what resources are available and what support they can give. Also within research development, you have finance teams, and I know again different trusts have different setups again, so you might have an individual within R&D who's the main finance person, or you go to the finance team who may have an individual who deals with finances, if that makes sense. So it's key to find out who these people are and to be able to show them your proposal to see what is required. The trial team, what the trial team really covers is the core team to help deliver the project. So with different trials, you may have trial managers, data managers, you might have administrators. It just really depends on what your project requires. So that's something to think about as well, to be able to take to the host organisation to see what you're after and how that can be costed. And then the key is the delivery team. So that's the ground staff delivering your project, which will be research nurses. If there's any key departments like radiology or physios that you need access to be able to start engaging with them as soon as you can as well, to show what your proposal or your protocol is wanting you to deliver and what activities are included. And then they can pick up on this as well and start having them conversations about how much time, what's needed in regards to equipment to help deliver this as well. So what costings should you consider? So staff costs. Now with any grants, obviously, especially fellowships, it's about how much time is needed to do your research, whether that be full-time equivalent or 0.8 or 0.6, etc. And being able to contact the R&D teams who'll be able to give you this, especially if you are employed by the trusts. If not, then they can obviously contact the right people to give you the right costings. And usually this includes the salary cost, as well as if there's any national insurance, as well as pensions that need to be added on top as well. Other staff costs, like I said, if you have a trial team, so if you have a coordinator or a trial manager, any of these, there's costs associated with this as well. And within your proposal, if you know how much time you need from each individual, this can be costed by the R&D teams as well as the finance teams as well. So in regards to health education institutes like universities, their costings are different. So it's best to contact the university and they'll be able to provide you some costings to help you input them into your grant as well. In regards to travel costs, now I know this is quite broad, but in regards to travel, this could be related to whether the applicant has to go for some training, and that might include going by a train somewhere down south or north, depending on where you're based. And it's just about thinking about stuff like that and making sure that you've got all that covered as well. So PPI cost, that's the patient and public involvement cost as well. Now, I know certain proposals you might not have any patient or public involvement at first, but you might have some later on, but something to think about and be mindful of. So if you need a patient within that speciality, the PPI involvement team can refer you to someone, but there is cost associated with that. And depending on how much involvement there is, that determines the cost. So for example, if you have someone reading a patient information sheet, for example, and you want some feedback on that and comments, that'll might cost you £12.50. But if you need a patient to be at an all-day meeting to discuss the project, that could be £150. So all of them, all of these tariffs are available from the PPI involvement team online. So it's worth having a look at as well. Publication and dissemination cost. Now, to present at a conference, you might have different people or collaborators with you going as well. So you need to think about how many people are going and how much cost that will incur. And also in regards to publishing your results as well, depending on what journal it is, you might have different amounts. So one journal might be £3,000 to publish your results and another one might be 300. And it's really key that you get this information up front to be able to print your grant. As with any NIHR grant, they want to be able to justify each of the cost. And if you can show that, that's what they're looking for. So in regards to equipment, so this is this could range from printing, stationery, all the way through to any equipment that we might be used on the ground to help the patients. So when you're looking to purchase this, depending on where you're getting it from, whether it's through procurement, you need to speak to the R&D department who can put you in contact with the procurement department to be able to get it all in, and they can provide you a cost as well. And then this can go into your grant as well. Speaking of equipment, we're moving on to consumables. This is anything that may be trial specific. So you might have a certain medical device for patients to use as part of the research experiment. You might be having this on lease, or it could be bought out directly. So that's something to consider. Now, in regards to approvals, as part of any submission, there's different approvals that you need to obtain. So for example, the MHRA, depending on what type of study it is, they may ask you to put in an application to them, and there's a fee associated with this as well. So if it's really looking at medical device studies and CTIM studies mostly, but it's key to actually be able to look at the website, see what's needed, and then there is support available from your local R&Ds as well as the CRN, who may be able to guide you with that as well. So just moving on. So what is the SORCAT tool? So the SORCAT is a cost attribution template designed to support correct cost attribution and application for research cost funding to ensure that full site level research costs are recovered. Now, anything that is a research cost is the costs of R&D itself that end when the research ends. So they relate to activities that are being undertaken to answer the research questions. So an example of this is data collection and analysis needed to answer the research question, data storage, archiving of clinical research records, and patient randomizing. NHS treatment costs. So these are the patient care costs which would continue to be incurred if the patient care service in question continued to be provided after the R&D study had stopped. So this is looking at patient care costs, intervention assumptions. So you would always assume if you had an intervention that would work all the way through till the end, and you would have to look at the different costs associated with that, whether that be a cost saving or it might be an excess treatment cost as well, which is more than what the standard treatment is. So NHS support costs. So NHS support costs are the additional patient care costs associated with the research which would end once the R&D study in question had stopped, even if the patient care involved continued to be provided. So an example of this would be obtaining informed consent, and also using databases to identify patients that might be suitable for projects to recruit. One thing I would say though is the SORCAT tool, it is really good to provide all the research costs that you might need, and I appreciate for single site studies it's not applicable. For multi-sites it is, so it is worth just having a look at it to be able to give you some idea of how much it would cost. Most NIHR grant applications, they usually have 2 stages. In the first stage, they won't ask for a SOCAT. In the second stage, they do. So it's something to really get engaged with early. And there is plenty of support out there with CRNs who can help you fill it in, or if you needed advice, yeah, so they're there at your local CRN. What I've added as well is a cost attribution flowchart. Now, this is available on the Department of Health website. It's called the Accord document. So if you are looking to figure out if something is a research cost or something is a service support cost or a treatment cost, this flowchart will help you to determine that. So please do, yeah, look through that document beforehand to help you look at research costs. Sorry, yeah, I know that was brief, but if you do have any questions, please do email me or put them in the chat and I'll be more than happy to answer them as well.